It's Not Another Buffalo Podcast, hosted by three of the most underqualified sports personalities this side of the canal. With John.
All you people out there who are like, these idiots don't know anything. First of all, you're right. And second of all,
Pat.
I'm just a dad talking in a closet, but I'm just saying.
And Brando.
We have this trust built on whatever it is, like Bibles and gold bricks and whatever Brandon Bean's drinking over there.
All right, welcome back to Not Another Buffalo Podcast. I'm John. I'm here with my buddies Pat and Brando here on a Tuesday evening. This episode is brought to you guys by Small City Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or manage property in Western New York, you got to call my guy Zach Korzelius at 585-409-1088. That's 585-409-1088. Now, boys, how is it going up there? I heard it was a little bit of a heat wave lately.
Last week it was. Now I had my winter hat on before I came on here. I just took it off to switch it with a baseball hat. I also had my AC running all day, and it's like 60 outside and rainy and thunderstorms. But crappy 2 days here. Got rained on and stormed on golfing on Saturday. So I'm at the tee box, and it just is unloading. And there's thunder and lightning, and my buddy Timmy's pulling up the radar. It's like a purple blob coming over us. I'm like, if this is where I die, this is where I die. And I just topped my drive 20 yards. So, yeah.
I got golf ball sized hail for the first time in my life. That was exciting. Yeah, I got a couple new dents in the car.
Really?
Unfortunately.
It did it?
Yeah, a little bit. Not anything crazy, but like, man, yeah, I should have taken some pictures because definitely golf ball size was like the biggest one that I saw.
Now, two-part question for you. Part one, what do you do with damage to your car from a hailstorm? Do you have to call your insurance and pay your deductible to get something fixed?
I think so. I don't know. Body repair shops can pull those kind of small dents out, I think, but might require paint correction as well. Not fun.
Part two to that question is, if I walked outside with my 9-iron, do you think I could hit it? Like, would it fly? Would it break? Like, how dense are these hail balls?
Oh, they're balls of ice. Yeah.
So it
would probably break apart. Yeah. Cool. I mean, they're melting as they're falling, so they're like falling apart when they hit the pavement and stuff. The bigger ones you actually find in the grass because they don't break apart when they hit the pavement. Anyway, not to totally start off an episode with the weather. Like, if you're ever wondering, if these young whippersnappers are past their age, we start every single podcast with weather talk. Like, we're 45.
I feel like we have
50
in the last little
or
while.
something like that. We have. I don't know. But just like I get through the sponsorship and I'm like, it's hot here. It has been for 6 weeks at least. But anyway, how are you guys doing? Patty, everything going good with future dad duty here?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. The AC, I ended up just buying a vehicle outright.
Nice.
After my old vehicle, and the thing runs really, really well. It's just the AC isn't really working, and for me that's not a big deal, but
it's
I'm
not until it is.
A child, and so it was a little bit of a, trying to, if any listeners have any idea how to up your car's AC, I'd appreciate it.
Coolant. But you got to get that coolant. Yeah.
Well,
it's not cheap to get your AC fixed. If you have a cracked line for your AC, I had to get it fixed twice on 2 different cars. I cracked my AC, and I went like 2 years without it once. Windows down all the time. Wasn't a huge deal, but I figured they were fixing my car. Maybe you need it for inspection. I think maybe that's what I ended up getting it done for. No, you don't?
No.
No. New York State doesn't care if you're cool or warm. But yeah, no, they have these little kits you can buy at AutoZone to try to recharge your AC a little bit, which sometimes can help you out a little bit, but I would just take it to a pro, Pat, at this point. I've tried that a couple times before. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just get cool air for like 3 weeks and you're back where you started. So you might as well just have somebody look at it in case it's a compressor or something like that. But anyway, on this episode of Not Another Car Talk podcast, anyway, let's just hop into our main topic right here, because I think we've got like a good little prompt here for tonight. It's off season. Like, we're just talking about random stuff, random Bills narratives and things like that.
I want to say Joe Brady talked today.
Yes.
He talked about how this is going to be Josh Allen's offense. Everything's going to run through him, which is exciting. We could talk about that too outside of your prompt. But maybe your prompt could relate to this question if somebody has Josh Allen as an answer to your prompt. But
maybe. I actually, what you said, I think is kind of important and relevant. And I just had this thought in my head right now. But is it is it 100% good for the offense to be 100% like the quarterback's offense, right? So it's like there's a difference between building an offense around Josh Allen, and maybe he's just saying it in the press conference, right? Like this is Josh Allen's offense. You know, he's built Joe Brady's offense around Josh Allen, but Joe Brady isn't going to go. He's not the kind of guy who's going to go up there and say, "This is my offense. I have my stamp on it. Like these are all my good ideas." But it's not like I don't think it's the same as like this is Aaron Rodgers' offense, where it's like Aaron Rodgers got to pick his own coordinator and. You know, what is it? It's not Adam Gase. Who does he have?
Hackett.
He had
Hackett. Nate Hackett.
Yeah, Nate Hackett.
Thanks. So he brought Nate Hackett in to just be his puppet because basically when they started calling plays last year in preseason, Rodgers was changing the play at the line of the scrimmage every single play and just playing like picking his own plays. So it's like it's almost like he didn't need an offensive coordinator at that point. So I don't think it's going to be that, but for a young QB like Josh, like that would be a bad thing, right?
So multiple things on this, John. Part one, multiple thing. Josh Allen did pick both of his last offensive coordinators, I believe. He was a huge banger of the door of Ken Dorsey, right? He talked about he's the guy that I want Ken. Bring him in here when Dable left. Part
definitely
two,
influenced the decisions. I don't know if you can say picked, you know, because it wasn't like, you know, he was like, I want Kyle Allen to be my offensive coordinator. Maybe he picks the backup quarterbacks.
I think that's probably a more realistic.
But I know you're right. He definitely has an influence, and they weren't going to hire an offensive coordinator without Josh's seal of approval. But
well, I have an article here from the New York Times, and the quote is: Bills coach Sean McDermott and general manager Brando Beane essentially let Allen select Ken Dorsey to be the next offensive coordinator, and were even willing to make Allen's pal Davis Webb the quarterback's coach, even though he was still an active player. I just remember this being a huge deal in all of the comments leading up to it. It was like, we want Ken. Josh wants Ken. Josh is going to get Ken. And I feel like it's the same.
We were talking about Ken before Josh, like the comments came about Josh, though. I mean, he was the next in line after Daboll for years, and we got Daboll for an extra year longer than we thought we were going to. So
I just think that Josh also isn't a young quarterback in the league anymore. We're looking at prime
year 7.
Superstar, year 7, 28-year-old grown-ass man. He can make the calls at the line. Bearded Josh Allen. No more mullet. This guy is not messing around. He's dating a supermodel, right? Or super actress, whatever you want to call it. This guy is in charge, all right? He's the guy calling the plays. And if you even look, the Bills' offense is so complicated, which is why we've seen the trust Josh Allen had with Cole Beasley and John Brown to those zone option routes and those pick plays and those little underneath over the top patterns. Josh has had a hard time getting that with his receiver group, but Josh called those plays, right? He gets the two options at the line and he could look over at the guy and just, I feel like it for a long, long time when we were watching Bills growing up, we're not watching quarterbacks do work at the line of scrimmage. We're watching Lossman and Edwards, maybe Fitzpatrick, like go deep, I'll throw it deep, but all these other guys are taking snaps. Josh makes a lot of call outs at the line of scrimmage, even if he's switching for run to pass. But I think he always gets 2 calls in his headset and he can change it any way that he wants. I think he does that regularly, unless McDermott's like, we're running the ball like the Dallas game, you know, unless it's like game plan specific. And I think it's a great thing, man. Great thing. Let this guy full steam ahead. You're paying him $250 million. He raised the value of this franchise by $3 billion. We are relevant in the world. Number 1 Josh Allen sales and jerseys. Like, let this guy go. Let him do it. And maybe we see something. Again, you have to talk about this. If it is his time to call this stuff, and maybe it started a little bit last year, not having Diggs here to pressure Josh to throw the ball here or there. You know, Josh wants to hit Shakir in the end zone in that Chiefs game. You know, maybe Brady's calling that to Diggs, right? Maybe McDermott's calling that to Diggs, and you know, you live and die by that. It wasn't a bad read. He was open, but we'll see what happens. I think it is a good thing, though. You should always dance with the one that brought you. And Josh Allen's dancing us down Elmwood, whatever, in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, it should definitely be a collaboration, right? Like maybe the two are on more equal footing when it comes to like, okay, what are we going to do this year? How are we going to approach it? But I feel like you have to have, and you know, I don't know what the dynamic between Joe Brady and Allen looks like, but you have to have some kind of checks and balances in there, right? Because that's all well and good when things are going well, but what happens when the offense stalls, things aren't going well? Josh is going to keep running what he likes and what he's comfortable with. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes that's not like the best thing for the game plan. Josh loves being in shotgun. He hates being under center. Like he prefers to be in shotgun. Does that mean we're going to run shotgun 100% of the time? Would that be the best thing for the game and the outcome of the game? Probably not. So I feel like you have to have enough.
Brian Abel would disagree.
Right. Different offense though. I mean,
yeah. I know. We're not going to see it. I told you that. I closed that chapter.
We got 30 quotes of Brando saying that chapter is closed. So I really think that this team would benefit from the play action rollouts, all that stuff. Like we're going to get a little bit more of that in the Joe Brady offense, probably a little bit more under center than we have before because of the play action, that you have in there. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it has to be a little bit more of an equal footing thing because if Josh is the one totally in control of like, I want to run this right now, we're running this. You just need some guardrails a little bit. Like let Josh do his thing, let him drive the truck, but like have some guardrails on it. So it's like, okay, if we're at, 99 yards passing, nothing's working halfway through the game. That's what Joe Brady's there for. He's the one who, that's what he's solely getting paid for. He's not throwing the football, but he is paid to call plays, draw up the plays, scheme up game plans and that kind of thing. So obviously, there's no teams with 0 offensive coordinators who are just letting their quarterback take care of all of that. So they have to contribute something. But I think it's got to be an equal footing relationship there. And I think that, Josh is Josh and he's an amazing quarterback and he is in year 7. But you got to get something out of your offensive coordinator. Otherwise, what is he here for, right? Why don't we just have... Why isn't Pat the offensive coordinator for the Bills this coming year, right? If it's all Josh.
But what's the dynamic between someone like Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady? I mean, I think there's a sub-Dom dynamic right there, and I don't think Tom's the sub.
No. And did you ever watch any of these documentaries where they're film sessions of Brady and Belichick? They would meet maybe once or twice a week, putting the game plan together. And they're both, it's so cool. This is the best part of coaching. And I do it with my basketball team too. I bring in my point guard, or I bring in my, your 1A player, your first option. You're like, these are what I'm thinking. What do you like to run out of this? You want to run this to the right side? You want to run this to the left side? You want to run it out of the post? You want the 3? Where do you feel more comfortable hitting the 3, right side or left side? So it's not like Josh Allen's like, I'm going to throw 30-yard posts the whole time. And Joe, you're just going to put the headset on. Okay. Just be there. I think Allen is sophisticated enough now in year 7 to be like, I know we have to get these run plays going, but I like the zone sweep to the right. Let's run that a few times so I can get a power to the left and, kind of play that chess game. Or I can run the trap zone up the middle, or what was it? The trap block versus zone block. Those are the 2 different things. I don't know. This is the part that gets too technical for me, right? Zone blocking is just nobody moves really, right? They just have an area for alignment. The right tackle takes the linebacker, fullback takes the edge, whatever. So I think Allen is sophisticated enough to be like, hey, here's my 20 favorite run plays, 20 favorite pass plays. You give me what I need. I can make the call at the line if I have a light box or if I have a stack box, if I feel like my receiver has a better matchup one-on-one.
I don't think Josh has favorite run plays unless they involve him.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, you're handing it off. Like, why, if you're the guy passing it, you have preferences because of what you're comfortable with, what you like seeing, maybe some of the personnel that you got on the field. But like, if you're just handing it off, I mean, then you're just doing the offensive coordinator's job for them. Yeah. Right. Which is, I feel like, is a difference from like a true collaboration. And like Josh McDaniels, yes, was definitely the sub in that relationship, but we all know who Josh McDaniels is. He's not a genius, right? Like we've seen him try to lead teams on his own and coordinate without the greatest quarterback of all time. It hasn't gone great.
Headline, not another Buffalo podcast calls Josh McDaniels not a genius.
Mid.
Yeah.
Mid.
Not even. Probably not even that, but anyway, all right. So let's go through this other topic quickly that we got here. We each picked a player and we didn't talk about it beforehand. So hopefully we all didn't pick like the same guy or 2 of the same. I don't think we did. I tried to pick something different. But anyway, the prompt is, which player will surprise us the most in 2024? So let's rewind a year. Let's just think about, to put this in context, which players do you think surprised us the most in 2023 past year? Like Terrell Bernard, I think is top of that list.
Leonard
probably.
Floyd.
Leonard Floyd was a good surprise. Yeah, obviously not a candidate for this year.
Christian Benford.
Christian Benford for sure. Khalil Shakir, I feel like he over delivered a little bit.
Daquan Jones.
Daquan Jones. I think his production was expected. I would say that he wasn't too much of a surprise. He was that the year before.
Daquan was the second best D tackle in football, I want to say, when he got snaps.
Like to Chris Jones?
Yeah, Daquan Jones'
In what,
advanced
in like
stats
what metric?
are outrageous.
Definitely essential to this defense, obviously, right? And injured in some key games. But yeah, as far as players with low expectations that really over-delivered on them, I think that those are probably the leading candidates in there. I don't know. I don't think we're missing any. I mean, James Cook had a good year, but I think everyone was kind of expecting that jump from him. Maybe you could say that about...
I don't know, like Osiris Torrance. Like is a good example.
Yeah,
of
Osiris Torrance was a great one too, as well. I was thinking of the running back Ty Johnson as well, kind of over delivered. Not so much that you're like, oh my God, we're all excited for Ty Johnson this year, but enough where I was like really happy with his production. I think we'd be really happy if we got similar production out of the running backs this year. Whether that's the guy that they drafted,
the other guy that's like 29 years old already. He's
Ray
not.
Davis.
He's like 25.
Ray Davis. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, 24
Pat will
years.
remember the running backs for me. But.
So real quick on Daquan, and again, if you have him, this guy from Sports Illustrated, Kyle Salagi, also agrees. Bills D tackle named team's best kept secret entering OTAs. Daquan Jones graded out at 86.0 on Pro Football Focus, which was number one on the team as their D lineman. So number one best D line. He had 20 pressures, 10 run stops, 33 total quarterback pressures over his 2 seasons. But I don't know. I feel like we
he's absolutely like elite defensive player. I'm just saying that we kind of expected that. Like,
I don't know. I didn't know him before he came here. I didn't know. He's not a household name to me, I feel like.
I didn't know like what he was going to do before he came here, but like he's been here for 2 years, right? So we were kind of expecting it last year. So
Pat, why don't you go first? Why don't you tell us?
All right. Yeah. Well,
that's like put me on the spot. Why don't you?
No, you're all right. I mean, like if, just to lead into it, I did have Ray Davis as my impact player here. He's someone who's got a little bit better college football pedigree than someone like Ty Johnson. He is younger than Ty Johnson. Ty Johnson is 27 years old. Ray Davis is 24 years old, which is pretty GD old, honestly. He's born, in the 20th century. So, 1999er. But I mean, this guy, he's rushed for 900 yards for 3 different collegiate teams. He's rushed for 1,000 yards on 2 different SEC teams. Last year, he had 14 touchdowns and almost averaged 6 yards a carry, 5.7 yards a carry. I mean, granted, it's Kentucky, but still, I mean, you're going up against, your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Floridas. So he'd be someone I'd like to see make a difference. Maybe you're talking about like a Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel type. Bring it back to your boy with Matt Stafford in 2021 with the Rams, but I'd like to see that. Maybe him take over for Ty Johnson.
The 2-headed SEC running back room. And
Nice.
James Cook was another one that I think, overproduced last year from what we were expecting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he underproduced his first year. So that was more expected. But he was 4th in the league in rushing yards. I mean, he had a heck of a season, even if those touchdown numbers are down. But
did he really finish 4th in the league in rushing?
He's definitely top 7. 1,100 yards on the ground. NFL leading rushers. James Cook, 4th. Isn't that funny? Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry.
There he is. Kyron Williams, James Cook, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, and Raheem Mostert.
Right.
Yeah, number 4. I mean, that's the battle of staying healthy, I feel like, as well.
Mm-hmm. To have his body size and to make it through 200 plus carries, but his averages were ridiculous, and he left so much meat on the bone too. So you like to think that Ray Davis comes in and maybe takes some of that, and James Cook capitalizes a little bit better than he did last year, put a couple more touchdowns on the board, catch a couple more balls.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, have we ever had a really reliable 3rd and short rusher that isn't named Josh Allen?
No.
Shady.
They've tried so many times.
I mean, Boobie
right?
Dixon was hilarious.
Yeah, you're going back a ways though. I'm thinking like McDermott era. They've tried so many times,
Frank,
right?
The ghost of Frank Gore, was
Frank
pretty good
Gore,
when he was here for 1 year.
Right. Not terrible, right? And his son, now currently on the roster, will go into training camp with them. But yeah, like Frank Gore, Zach Moss. Obviously, he's doing pretty well with the Colts right now, but he wasn't a reliable. He wasn't the hammer that we thought he was going to be. Devin Singletary, not really his thing. And so maybe this is your low center of gravity, get 1 yard back. Besides, I mean, he's explosive. He has explosiveness, but that would be nice. I would count that. If he was that and like a really good 2-punch to James Cook, I would I would count that as over delivering.
Me too.
So I don't know what the expected is, whether he's expected to be above Ty Johnson or below him on the depth chart. Probably above him.
25-year-old college running back. Absolutely. Out of the box in his prime last year for Kentucky. So he spent a year of his prime in college. These guys are so good coming out as young players. There's no reason Ray Davis can't come in and run for 500 yards.
All right. Hot take from Brando. So Brando,
I don't think it's that hot. I don't know, man.
I pretty much agree with you. I just, I was just saying it was a cool take. Anyway, Brando. So if you thought Ray Davis wasn't the player most likely to surprise you this year, then who did you think was going to surprise you more?
I am so much on this guy's bandwagon. I've talked about him a lot since we got him, but it's Curtis Samuel for me.
God damn it, Brando.
I'm sorry, buddy, but it's Curtis Samuel, and I'm on this train. I'm so hyped for this guy.
I should have known you were going to pick this guy.
Yes.
I didn't think anyone else was going to pick this player.
Oh, he's my guy. I like Curtis
15
Samuel.
Curtis Samuel tabs open right now. I have to close all of them.
I got one, and it's enough for me because the separation from this guy. We're talking about article by Cover One. Curtis Samuel, they got him tied for 13th in the NFL at the average separation of 3.3 yards. So he's going to get open, and Josh Allen will throw to open guys. And then we're talking about quick plays off the line of scrimmage. Without your deep threat over the top, you're going to have to build this offense to work underneath. To work underneath in these tight spaces when they're getting covered by linebackers or they're getting boxed in and jammed at the line, you got to get off your horse fast. And when you're looking at Samuel, his next gen stats pointed out he had the third quickest burst in the NFL at 9.8 miles an hour. You think that's, it's only 9 miles an hour, but Trey Palmer, first overall, 9.16. AJ Brown, 9.1. Curtis Samuel, 9.08. Tyreek Hill, 9.03. Chris Olave, 9.02. And if you look at the other receivers in the Bills wide receiver room last year, and again, maybe he's taking plays off. Diggs was only at 7.73. And Gabe Davis was at 8.25. So those guys were kind of struggling. I just think this guy is perfect for the Bills offense. And when you talk about his carries as a running back from the backfield, Samuel got 41 carries when he had Joe Brady in 2020, averaging almost 6 yards per carry. That 40 carries, 2 carries a game.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was going to say, do you think we'll see a modified Isaiah McKenzie-like role for Curtis Samuel in this offense?
Or maybe more so like a Debo role.
Yeah, more like a Debo role. Yeah,
Curtis Samuel blows the talent of Isaiah McKenzie out of the water. It's not even close. No offense, Isaiah McKenzie, but Curtis Samuel is something that we haven't had as a weapon here. And I think having him, maybe he's what Jamison Crowder would have been for us a few years ago. But I keep looking around in the NFL. I'm looking at wide receivers that signed with other teams as free agents and how they did the next year. And it's not very good the last couple of years. You had Odell Beckham Jr., you had DJ Chark and Juju and Will Fuller. And then you go to 2023 and it's Jacoby Myers, DJ Chark, Robert Woods, Richie James, Alan Lazard, Darian Slayton, Adam Thielen. Curtis Samuel could come in and be the number one.
Adam Thielen had a good year. But he was also in Carolina, where there was no other receiving talent whatsoever.
Curtis Samuel could be the number one free agent wide receiver signing the NFL has seen in the last half decade, probably.
All right. Well, I'm going to knock on wood. That one was.
All right.
Who do you got?
Someone want to write that down?
Give me 1,200 all-purpose yards for Curtis Samuel next year.
All right.
Maybe more.
I'm going to write this down.
Do it. 1,200 all-purpose yards. A bunch of catches underneath, breaks away some touchdowns. It's going to be great. Curtis Samuel is the missing piece for this Bills offense.
Hang on. I gotta write this down. The best wide receiver free agent signing in how many years?
5.
5 years?
Think
we're
about
counting
it.
all wide receiver free agents that have been signed.
Not for your own team. You have to
and
be
non-trades.
switching teams.
Non-trades. We're not talking about trades either.
Yeah.
Non-trades. Okay. And
because Tyreek technically was a trade.
That's true.
You went from one team to another as a free agent wide receiver. I just looked up the last 23, 22. And they suck. So,
all right. Well, yeah, I was going to say, can you go back a little bit farther? I'm kind of interested to see.
Yeah, I will. I got it right
here. Christian Kirk would be one.
Okay. He's probably the best one right now. And Christian Kirk and Curtis Samuel could have a very similar stat line.
I was going to say, I actually don't have any problem putting Curtis Samuel over Christian Kirk. I was just like eyeing up the first. Yeah, Zay Jones also signed
Chris
with the Jaguars that year.
Godwin didn't leave. Allen Robinson didn't leave. Juju didn't leave. Kenny Galladay left to go to the Giants. John Brown, Marvin Jones, Corey Davis. No, Kendrick I think
Bourne.
This could happen. Emmanuel Sanders, last time the Bills signed him. John Brown. It could be until the Bills sign John Brown. I don't know. I think Christian Kirk might be the one. Give me Christian Kirk's first year stats with Jacksonville.
I mean, Emmanuel Sanders was a pretty dang good signing when you think about it. He didn't have that
many yards, though. He didn't have that many yards. We all talk about how good he was, and I just he was here. He was good, but he didn't blow anybody away.
Robert Anderson. I'm back to 2020. Josh Gordon signed with the Seahawks, or re-signed with the Seahawks. Never mind.
So with the
Corey
Jags,
Coleman, do you guys remember former Bills player Corey Coleman?
For a minute, we traded a pick for him from the Browns, right?
Yes, I think we did. Yeah. Mohamed Sanu.
The wide receiver free agent class for the last few years has been so poor. Christian Kirk's the best hit, and in 2022 he had 84 catches, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. But he was the team's number one receiver, right? No Calvin Ridley. Last year he has a down season, but I really think he might be better than that season here in Buffalo. And if it's not, he's going to be close. And if he doesn't get the receiving yards, his combination of rushing, receiving will go over 1,100 for sure. I'd be hitting the over on any sports book that's taking bets for for Curtis Samuel. And if they set those lines as what they did last year, a sports book would be stupid to set Curtis Samuel's line at 800 and something yards.
Guys, I'm looking at these things, and I think that there's a larger point to be made here as well.
How bad the free agent
2019. Yeah, but I think that the Bills have done like the best with free agent wide receivers as far as value.
John Brown.
You can say that. Yeah, John Brown and Cole Beasley in the same year, obviously. Emmanuel Sanders. But compared to some of these guys and some of these guys that got so overpaid, because Christian Kirk might have more production than John Brown, but he was also like 7 times more expensive as well. So when it comes to scraping the bargain barrel in wide receivers, I got to give Bean some credit here looking at this, not so good crop of free agents.
Well, I feel like there is like, the outlier is the fact that a lot of these players are traded. You look at like DJ Moore.
Yes.
You look at Tyreek Hill. You look at AJ Brown, traded for picks. So I feel like the
People
transfer of talent.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Well, all these guys. Yeah. It's a good point to be talking about when you're looking at the receiver market for the Bills, because if Coleman doesn't work out for Buffalo, you're looking at another first round pick traded, and you're paying a guy a lot of money, because you got to get him on the contract. That's what all these teams are trading their receivers for. They don't want to pay $20 million a year for this guy. So I think the Bills are doing it right. I agree, John. They've picked out of the barrel very nicely. And I think Curtis Samuel's just going to be the next gem.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm right there with you. The one thing that could hold Curtis Samuel back, he's been great when he's been healthy, has a history of soft tissue. So that's the only thing. He might be missing some games here. I think we should all kind of expect that a little bit. This is from bangedupbills.com. Great site. Sorry, I got to give credit to the guy who runs this, because he's on with Joe Marino all the time. Dr. Trimble is his name. Kyle Trimble. Banged Up Bills. Find him on Twitter.
Well, I got his list of injury history here in front of me too.
I have kind of a sum up paragraph. Obviously, if you go through his injury list, we're going to be here until tomorrow. But here's injury analysis from Kyle Trimble. Despite missing only one game over the past 2 seasons, Samuel has been forced to play through many similar injuries as noted above. He has missed 23 games over 7 seasons, with 11 of those coming in the 2021 season. So 23 games over 7 seasons. I guess that's not as bad as I thought, but there are a variety of injuries that have differing levels of severity and concern moving forward for the next 3 years. Looking at everything as a whole, he has dealt with soft tissue injuries nearly every year at some point. This has either caused him to miss practice time or outright missed games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Draft Sharks. You ever hear of Draft Sharks? So they have his injury guide on here, and he's very high risk. It would be his right leg. He's had 2 groin strains, 2 hamstring pulls, 1 knee injury, and a broken foot and a toe sprain. And it's got 82% to miss at least 2 quarters. And his projected games missed this year is 2.7. That's kind of interesting stat. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's not important games, because I could definitely see him playing a role. I think the other bold prediction that I was going to tie to this, Brando, when I was having this, I think that the best Bills wide receiver highlight this year will come from Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Unless
Some
Dalton
deep
Kincaid
ball.
Moss is somebody in the end zone.
Right.
But he doesn't count. He's a tight end. So
there we go.
So John,
if you're taking Curtis Samuel, I guess I'm going to revert to my backup, and I think I'm going to go with Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
Because, obviously I think Dalton Kincaid is going to have an awesome year, but I think we're all kind of expecting that, right? Second year player, but he's the target getter in the room. He's going to be, I'm not saying he needs to perform like Travis Kelce, but he's going to be in this offense almost what Travis Kelce is in the Chiefs offense, where he's a focal point. He's a headliner in this offense. So anyway, Khalil Shakir, I don't know what to expect as far as production. I don't know if it's going to be the Gabe Davis thing where if you give him a bigger role, his yards per catch is going to shrink. If he stays at the yards per catch and the catch rate that he was, like very few drops, if any at all, last season, I think it's going to be exciting because it's all a question of, did he have his production because Diggs was getting covered up or he was taking up resources from a defense so that, Khalil Shakir could get open. So if Khalil Shakir continues on his current trajectory, plus the added targets that have been vacated by Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, then maybe you are looking at a fantasy viable player there. And that would be, when I say fantasy viable player, if you don't play fantasy, don't get lost with it. It's just like he's definitely a top 2 receiver on his team, top 3 if there's enough production available. So he had some crazy catches. He had that long touchdown in the Jets game. He had a couple where he was really high up in the air. I mean, he's not a tall guy to begin with. But
his touchdown in Kansas City was great. And it was...
Yeah. Oh, my God. That was amazing.
The only touchdown allowed on that corner all year. What was his name?
Ladarius Sneed.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Yep. It's nuts. That's right. You met his parents at the game.
Yes. Awesome people. I'll always be a fan of him now. So... And his mom was hyped about the catch. She was like, my son just got beat for the first time all year on a highlight play. Like, what a play by that young man. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, it's easy to walk out of there when your team won.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But
Can I give you someone that nobody probably would say?
Yeah.
Connor McGovern at center, moving over. Big surprise, filling in for Mitch Morris. And maybe you say the tackle, they kind of have a bargain bin again of talent on the O-line. That's not bargain talent. It's pretty quality, but some question marks, some injury history. The guy they signed from the Bengals, he's a tackle.
Collins.
Yeah, Collins. And I think Connor McGovern could be, the new spear of the offense, right? You got to figure out those handoffs. You go right over left over right, side by side, a little slap on the butt before the ball comes. How do you do this, Josh? How are we going to make this happen? So just a under the radar type of player that could be somebody that surprises, or he surprises poorly and just the line gets blown up all the time. So it could go one way or the other. But.
Right. You got to figure they had something in mind when they moved on from Mitch Morse, what people thought was 1 year early. That seemed like the boldest move of free agency. I mean, besides, trading Stephon Diggs, right? But so it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I'm excited for it.
Me too.
We're halfway. So I think we're about halfway right now between the Super Bowl and the first game of the season. I think that passed this past week. So the Super Bowl was just as long ago as the regular season is in front of us. So I don't know if that's good, bad, middle of the desert.
That's crazy.
But yeah, long off season. But all right, well, we're going to get out of here. You guys know where to find us on Twitter,
TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, maybe.
LinkedIn, maybe. That's right. We are on status LinkedIn, maybe right now.
Too old for Snapchat. You won't find us there. Yes.
That's true. Somebody recommended to me the other day that we should be on Snapchat. And I was like, I have data saving on my phone, or space saving. So if I don't use an app for longer than 3 months, it'll delete it. And Snapchat's been gone for years off of my phone. So
that's funny.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Again, you guys know where to find us on all those platforms at Not Buff Podcast. And we'll be back next week. So go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.